Hey, can we get Wesley in there as like something like maybe? Like, could he play like a Deacon Frost or like you know what I mean? Like
have a cameo.
I want to see him as the big old gross vampire.
just Wesley Snipes.
That's what.
Just screaming.
Just a big flat black dude. Like,
Hello, welcome to Survivor's Ed, How to Not Die First in a Horror Movie. I'm Chris.
I'm Tawny.
I'm Miles.
We are two blacks and a Mexican, and it's open season on all suckheads.
Yeah.
I am. We are thrilled to introduce a guest for this episode, Preston, That Phat Samurai Guy.
What's going on?
Yes, Preston, why don't you introduce yourself? You can do it better than I can.
I am That Phat Samurai Guy. I'm a samurai who's a guy, and it's pretty hot and tempting. No, I'm just kidding. What's going on? Thanks for having me on the podcast today, talking about Blade. If you guys don't know who I am, it's all good. But if you want to come to my channel, That Phat Samurai Guy is the name of the channel, martial arts movies, horror films, badassity abounds. We talk about the extreme stuff. Now, I like the comedies. It's fine. The drama movies, sure, great. But you're not going to find no reviews of Tom and Jerry on That Phat Samurai Guy's channel. Okay? You're not going to find no reviews of Frozen 2, Electric Boogaloo. All right? You're not going to find that. All right? But badass movies, we gonna talk about it. We're going to stream it. We're going to review it. Let's get it. Thanks for having me, brothers.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes,
Man, we appreciate you coming. And, as Preston said, we are covering Blade today, which is our first superhero horror movie. I think our first superhero movie, period. But and it may be the first superhero horror movie. I'm not sure. But
yeah,
Maybe,
right. Usually, yeah. Like,
maybe
wait,
like
what else
Spawn.
was there?
No, I feel like
Right.
maybe
Oh,
Spawn.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Came before this. Yeah.
Spawn's in there. But yeah,
I have
It's
a
up-
fun
it's
fact
up in
about
there.
that.
about Spawn.
Whenever we get into it. Yeah. So,
Yeah, you better drop that now.
Are we allowed to talk about the movie yet or not yet?
Well, you can talk about that. Give me the fun fact about Spawn, because I doubt we're going to circle
Okay,
back
so the
on
fun
Spawn.
fact about Spawn. I met Michael Jai White. He's a great guy. Spawn. So what the thing is Wesley Snipes actually was trying to become the first black superhero, excuse me, in a mainstream movie. He was trying to be the first one. So they were trying to make Black Panther in the 90s. Oh. That was the original project he was attached to.
Oh, wow.
But he read the story for Blade, and that kind of spoke to him more. He was like, that's more me. I want to do that, right?
Yeah.
So what happened was, with him not doing Black Panther, right, Michael Jai White actually beat Wesley Snipes to the punch and became the first black superhero in a mainstream superhero movie, because Spawn came out a year before Blade did. So Spawn came out in 97 and Blade came out in 98.
Okay.
So Michael Jai White, even though nobody gives him credit because everybody hates Spawn, I kind of like it. It's a guilty
I had a
pleasure.
weird,
some
I had a
stuff
weird
about it.
fandom around
I
Spawn.
like
when I was
Spawn.
young.
It was. I think it was
weird.
It was daring too. Like, I think it was like, I don't know if that was the right time for it, right? It's like dark. It's like really dark. I don't know if people were ready for it.
It definitely was before its time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
What do you guys think of a Black Panther film made in the 90s? What do you think about that?
I'm
I
so
don't
glad
know.
we did not get
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
Right?
I'm very
am
worried.
so
Yeah.
happy that didn't happen. I love
that would've been
Wesley.
atrocious.
I love Wesley Snipes, but man, no, hell no. In the 90s,
Yeah. You know what's crazy?
No.
And that's probably why they had that joke in Coming to America too, where it's like the inspiration for Wakanda or something like that. Like they made a joke about his Wesley Snipes' little, nation.
wow.
Yeah. But all right, so
we weren't
enough
woke
about
enough
Spawn.
yet in the 90s.
and,
Fun fact,
and
fun
Black
fact
Panther.
over.
Let's talk about Blade.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Blade is if you've not heard of it, you should have. But if you haven't, it's a superhero movie about a daywalker named Blade, who is essentially a man who was born from a woman who was bitten by a vampire and has essentially all of the strengths of a vampire, but none of the weaknesses. And Blade goes around hunting vampires, doing epic kung fu action scenes, and is just one of the my childhood heroes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I mean,
Yes.
let's just dive into it. We'll start with you, Preston. What's the situation with Blade? What made you choose this movie?
Choose this one. Well, I chose Blade because you guys are badasses here talking about horror films. That's what I like. That's what I like. I had Louis Lecca on my channel talking about. He's from Nerd Report, so shout out to Louis Lecca. But when he was on my channel, he mentioned how mainstream Hollywood stays away from the term horror because they look down on it. So if a horror film is very successful, they'll call it a thriller. It's an interesting point he made because it's kind of true. And I'm just like, no, man, it's called horror. It's a horror movie. The genre is within horror. Don't be ashamed. If it makes $1 billion, it's a badass horror movie, okay? Don't be ashamed. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we fight the good fight. That's what's awesome about this channel. You're fighting the good fight, representing horror, talking about it, spreading the word, right? So I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. I watched Blade on 4K. You guys, if you guys have 4K player, 4K TV, highly recommend you buy Blade because it's beautiful. Yeah. It looks like a brand new movie.
Yeah, I gotta check it out. I didn't even know they had it in 4K.
Yeah. So I rewatched it and I was just like, dude, this movie still holds up. It is still badass. Obviously the CGI is dated. Right. Some of the CGI is a little dated, but Blade wasn't really a big budget movie anyway, right? And plus, they kind of ran out of time finishing some of the effects. That's why they look a little wonky. But the movie's so badass, and you have these memorable characters, and it's just you get a badass soundtrack. I killed that CD, working out and doing stuff. I destroyed that CD. That CD's destroyed. But there's so many positives to this. And so many iconic, memorable moments that when you're watching it again, it literally holds up today. And some of the fight action sequences are so badass that you're just like, dude, where is you kind of stop and you go, where is this now?
Right.
In terms of mainstream Hollywood movies, right? Everything okay?
Sorry, we
about to roll up over there.
As soon as we started recording, my pets were like, "We're gonna fuck with her right now."
Okay, it's all good.
Is what happened.
It's all good because all three of us about to roll up over there and beat somebody down. You know what I'm saying?
My cat just knocked. Okay. Yeah, she just knocked the books down. It's fine. Yeah.
All right. Okay. But it still is amazing to watch. And the interesting thing about Blade is people forget about this. Blade that came out in 1998, it was a big risk. It was a big risk to make a movie based on an obscure character that not a lot of people knew about. I actually, even though I collected comic books back in the day growing up, I actually didn't even see Blade that much in comics. I seen Blade on the Spider-Man animated TV show that came out in the 90s. Yep, that's what I remember. That was really my introduction to him. So when they made a movie, I was like, yo, is that Passenger 57 kicking vampire ass? What is going on with the black trench coat, with the sunglasses?
Yeah. He looks so
badass.
Before
the Matrix.
Before the Matrix.
A year before the Matrix. Yes. Blade did it first.
Yeah.
And it's just, I went to the theater. And I was blown away. I ended up paying to see Blade 3 times. Wow. Like I saw it 3 times in theater. I loved it so much. And it scratched I have a saying on my channel. It scratched the fucking action itch. That's my saying on the channel. It scratched the itch.
Yeah, for sure.
Like sometimes you go to action movies and you're just like, you've seen this.
Right.
Yeah, it just
like. But with Blade, it was at the time.
Mind blown.
Yeah. And it's not just that it's action, it's that it's like balletic action. Like it's gorgeous. It's set to music that's completely exciting, like you said. Yeah. And like I swear to God, like this guy doesn't do one move that goes wrong the whole movie. Like even if he accidentally gets hit or whatever, like it's still beautiful and it ends up working out in the end. Yeah. But it's so like he's so like he's so coordinated and graceful. Yeah. Like just as he's so completely graceful. Like he does these turns and then the trench coat accentuates it. It's just visually gorgeous. Like everything about every single one. And I'm not even like, and I love a good action scene, but I tend like I'll get a little bit like of fatigue if they go on for too long, or if they're too flat, you know, if there's not, if they're not dynamic enough, or if they like if it's just overwhelming visually, and nothing about this is that. And I remember seeing it the first time and having this vague sensation of like, is this supposed to be a good movie? Because I enjoyed the shit out of it. And I've been watching it for years. Like, I've shown it to my boy, like it's one of the sort of first kind of scary movies that I showed to my boys, because it was like, I was like, well, it's enough action that, you know, I don't feel like it's like, it's not super, you know, it's not like a slasher movie or anything. And so for like, now that if it's been a couple, there's lots of slashing. But no, they totally get into it. And when that, you know, that freaking like techno music comes on, Holden gets up and starts jumping up and down in front of the TV. It's glorious.
Opening
I love
scene.
it. Oh my God, bloodbath.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I saw this. I don't know. I was a kid. I don't even know how old I was in 1980. I have no clue. But I remember I went to the movies.
We could do the math, Miles.
I know. I'm not good at math. I was a kid. You know,
Standard child age.
11. I don't know. Yeah. But I actually went to my friend. His dad took us to the movies to see this. This was back when like going to rated R movies was not a thing for like kids. It's just like, we all watch rated R movies. So he took us to the movies, and I was like, this is the most incredible. That was the most incredible movie I had ever seen in my life. Like up until that point, like, and the way that it starts, like the opening scene, like just like you said, Tawny, like his movements are just so precise, and he's so fluid, and he just looks so on point. Like, and I love like the little beats of like humor that they give him, where he has a sense of humor, but it's his own sense of humor. Like nobody else gets it but him. Like he's just like nobody laughs at it or anything. He just does it for himself. And I'm like, yes, dude, yes. And
you're like, what happened when the cop shot him in the hospital? The security?
Oh yeah.
He looked at him. He's like, "Motherfucker, you out your damn mind?" Oh my god. Oh my god.
And they run and they run. Perfect. They're like, I guess we are.
They were like, those cops were like really trying to kill him, for the record. I was like, just like
they shot him in the chest. Like, oh damn.
He looks so irritated. He looks so irritated with them. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
and
he's just so annoyed.
And the dope thing about it too is like to see, like, this was like at a time where we were coming off of like the goofy Batman movies and shit. And like it wasn't, superhero stuff wasn't really this dark. X-Men hadn't come out yet. Like this, to me, I always bring this up, as I told y'all earlier, this is literally one of my favorite Marvel movies. This movie gets just completely wiped from history for some reason.
Right.
And we always talk about
it.
Yeah, we only talk about the, you know, and listen, I love Marvel, like it's great, but nobody talks about how dope this movie is. Like the action sequences, there's so many things that he's doing, like I just oh my god, man, like just that opening scene just in general, like picked the dude up with the and like stuck him in the ceiling, like, yo, did anybody else see that? Or he took a stake and like, oh my god, man. Okay, so that's fire. After Whistler dies, spoiler alert, Whistler died. If you didn't know, after he dies, like I was so hyped in the movie theaters. Like when he shows up and he's like just goes in like, all right, I'm fucking up everybody now. Like I'm pissed.
I love that scene.
And I love how he's just
I
love how he's just unapologetically like that's the thing I like about it. It just owns the fact that he's an action hero, right? Like it's like he goes in, and like in that scene when that guy's on the ground, he's like, I just work for them, and he just remembers Whistler and kills that guy. Oh, man. It's just like, that doesn't happen. That's not gonna happen in the new Blade. I guarantee you that's not gonna happen in the new Blade.
No, it's not.
And like
it's PG-13.
Well, yeah.
Is it?
So right, but even like the darkness, like you could. Like theoretically, right, you can make a PG-13 movie and capture some darkness, right? Like you look at the Dark Knight trilogy, stuff like that. But it won't even do that. It'll you know, he'll be more his compass will be more, you know, north all the time. Whereas in this one, he was just like, nah. And I love that turn. I love, his arc as a character. He's got a little arc as a character, and it's subtle, but it's there. And then, and then on top of that, I mean, we've all kind of gushed over Wesley as Blade, but we got to talk about Stephen Dorff too as Deacon Frost.
Yeah.
He's like pitch perfect in this movie. He's so like, it's like they both knew what movie they were in and like knew exactly how to play it. You know what I mean? And Stephen Dorff's a really great actor. He was in, ironically, he was in True Detective season 3 with Mahershala Ali.
So that was actually good.
I didn't see that.
Oh, he was.
I saw that list. I was like, oh shit. I remember when he was in Gate.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, back in the day,
the Gate. Child.
No, he's great in this, and like he's got this. There's an overtopness to it, but there's also like he's just believable.
He looks like he's in a boy band
as that guy, right? He's like believable as that guy, and he has these moments where
it's like
I love when he's like
perfect.
I love when what's the
douchebag, arrogant
exactly
asshole.
the hair,
but
weird
he'll cut
90s
but
hair.
He'll slit your throat if you let him. If you're not looking,
exactly.
He's like one of those.
And he's got that scene where who's the what's his henchman guy, the Donald
Logue.
Who's I forget the character's name, but like there's that scene when he's telling him about Blade coming in there, and Deacon's all like,
he's like, he's got the sword, and he comes around.
He throws the thing up in the air, and you got the knives, and the other. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I love that. It's just such a and it's crazy because that's like the kind of joke you would hear in like a Seth Rogen movie or something. Like it doesn't even feel like a joke from that era. It feels like more like a joke from this era, almost like it's semi-meta. Just little stuff like that where it's in the script, it's in the performance. Like these guys it was a perfect sort of dichotomy between those two characters.
And I think the look of all the characters is really works and is right. And like I was trying to say, like the Stephen Dorff, he's not some big old hulking dude. Like he's he's like a small guy. He's not physically imposing, but he has that. He looks like he's a kind of a pretty boy. Like he's cute, right? Like he's cute. He looks young. He doesn't look like anyone who's especially threatening. And then you have like Donald Logue and his weird braid. And he looks like, I don't know
he
what,
was
like
hilarious
some kind
in
of.
this movie too.
He's ridiculous. He's a ridiculous.
I love when
character.
he gets his hand cut off and just runs down. He's like, oh
yeah. You know who I love? That fucking crazy bitch that's like bleached white.
Oh yeah.
Like the way they style her, like she just look like, and she's such a balance to what Blade looks like. Like Blade is like in his gorgeous, like sleek black, like just the blackest, most dark skinned, like beautiful statuesque figure, and then like kind of set next to her, and she's like bleached, like she has like white, almost like white blonde hair. Her clothes are white, like she's so pale. I'm sure that they did something to her to make her look that pale, because she's more pale than any of the other vampires, and it's just such a cool look. It's such a cool look for her. But yeah, like I love the look of the character. I love Blade's look, and it's so simple. Like there's nothing especially ornate about it. He has his buckles, across his chest, his like sleek trench coat, his fucking cool. I don't know who cuts his hair. Like, does he do it himself? I don't know. Who puts
he
the
got
patterns?
a mean ass. Like, whoever did this shit is like, super crispy. Extra crispy the whole time. Line never. Like, you never see him get it cut either. It's just like, my shit stays.
It's constantly like that.
It's interesting too,
one of his vampire powers.
After the success of the film, the comics version of Blade started to change as well.
I've heard
like
that.
A little bit
like
more Wesley Snipe-esque. A little bit, a little bit later.
Does
anyone remember the Blade TV series starring?
I remember that.
Sticky Fingers.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
I tried to watch it, and I couldn't get past the first episode. 5 billion years later, this was when it came out. 5 billion years later, I heard people say it's actually good. It gets better. I was like, really? So I bought it for really cheap, the box set. I got it for like $10.
Nice.
So I might revisit it and talk about it on my channel just for comedic purposes. Sticky Fingers, y'all, because when you think of Blade, you think of some fingers that be sticky.
I saw like a couple episodes of that, and I was like,
"You're like, nah, I got the
and that's,
well, at least the first two. At least the first two.
And that came out when I was at an age where I was like, you know, you just at a certain age, you're just not accepting of new things. And so like, I'm sitting there like, there's a Blade TV series, and as soon as I see that it's just not Wesley Snipes, I'm immediately like, it could have been Denzel Washington. It didn't matter. Like, that's not Blade. So the fact that on top of that it was Sticky Fingers is like, okay, I really didn't miss out.
Yeah. With the extra, he has such a distinctive voice too. Like, man. Why would you get him?
Blade, man. Yeah, like he's got like he's got that like.
Why you got the rap voice,
Whistler, man.
Yeah, he always got the rapper voice. Exactly. Yeah.
Whistler, one of the best sidekicks ever.
Oh man, Whistler is so dope.
Yeah, he is.
And I love their relationship because they clearly have this bond and love for each other, but they're so just toxic, like and manly that they would never say it to each other.
Smoking while putting gas,
putting gas in the car.
That's so funny.
They clearly have like a love for, and you see it when I love that scene where he's dying, and he's trying to, and he's in his mind he's like, we can fix it basically, and he's telling him like just walk away, man, like it's nothing that you can do about it, and you can tell like in his like really his over manly way he's hurt, like he's heartbroken, but he would never show it. He would only show it in anger anyway, and he does because he kills the shit out of people immediately after that. But it's like,
give me the goddamn gun.
Yeah. Walk the fuck away.
But yeah, that was an emotional scene.
Yeah, it is.
Feel like
that was an emotional scene, because like you were saying, Miles, like Blade doesn't really show a lot of emotion unless he's angry.
Right.
He'll crack a smile a little bit.
Yeah.
Once in a while. Yeah. He'll be goofy.
Yeah,
he'll have fun like that.
I love that.
But when it got to that scene when Whistler died, it was great. I love that scene because he couldn't even look at him.
Yeah. Yes.
First.
When he pulls the sheet off.
As soon as he arrived there,
yeah, he
couldn't even look at him, and he reaches the sheet and slowly pulls it down. And then he goes.
It's a heavy scene,
really
man,
good.
and
really
it's a heavy scene.
He looks horrible.
You can tell,
too.
like,
which pisses me off. Because of what happened in Blade trilogy. No, not Blade 2, believe it or not.
Was it Trinity?
Blade Trinity.
That was Trinity,
Yeah.
I hate that movie.
That movie's garbage.
I don't like it at all.
But it's bad. It's bad when when Whistler has a better death scene in Blade. It's bad when the first movie has a better death scene than his real death scene in Blade Trinity. It was so lame.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That's
another video.
I was just going to ask that question. Like, do we feel like his return? Because he returns in Blade 2, right? Do we feel like his return undercuts it, or does it feel like
it ruins it because it's such an emotional moment? I personally don't like any of the sequels. I know people like Blade 2.
I really like Blade 2.
I don't really care for Blade 2.
I love Blade 2. Sorry,
I do too.
I gotta represent.
I do too.
I'll watch
I don't
him.
care for Blade 2.
Blade 2 is phenomenal. That's okay.
It's not
Everyone's
Blade
got
3.
their favorite.
It's not Blade 3, which is annoying.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I felt like when I watched Blade 2, he just seemed different. The character seemed different. Like, and I was like, this ain't the same person that I went along with the last time. And it sort of just. They leaned heavy. It was an action movie to begin with, but it became more of an action thing, like a typical action thing when it got to the second one to me. And I was like, I don't like hate it. I just like,
it's not your favorite.
I don't like, I don't like it more than the first one is just done so well to me because it has some drama in it. And I don't really feel like any of the sequels have much drama.
I think the original is just such a, and one of my pet peeves is like, as an English teacher, is like right now, for whatever reason, everyone's saying the word simplistic when they mean simple. And I want to say like Blade is a simple movie. Like there's nothing about it that's it's not overexerting itself to tell some sort of like ridiculous
the world building
story.
Feels pretty organic.
It works, and it's completely well put together. It's completely satisfying. And then the sequels get weird, like they're there's these weird story elements thrown in where I'm like, what? And who's that? And I'm not saying that I don't watch them or that I'm not entertained by them. Even like the third one or whatever, but the first one is so outstanding because I think it was such a like unexpected simple, just completely enjoyable, completely well put together movie. You know, it's just
it was like
solid.
one of a kind too.
Yeah.
Like at that time, I felt like it was like, this. And when the sequels came out, they just felt like Underworld or some shit to me. Like it was just like another action movie.
I won't spend the whole
Mm-hmm.
podcast defending Blade 2, but I will say that it is where my love of Guillermo del Toro started, and the creature designs. Creature
design is excellent.
And
I actually thought they were more scarier than the vampires in Blade 1.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But I just love
gross.
I love Ron Perlman. There's lots to like in
it is a fun. It's a fun movie. I think it's more fun actually than the first one. As far as
the first one, in your opinion, has that dramatic.
It has
impact.
like it hit because there's fun in the first one, but it has. It almost is like a serious ass movie, even though it's so ridiculous. It's vampires, you know, like, and it's a guy dressed up in. But when you really thinking about it, but
dancing to techno is what it is.
Yeah, but I never at any point in that movie feel like this is stupid. I'm like, nah, I believe this. I'm like, yo, this is a real thing.
Well, like you guys were saying. Oh, go ahead, Tony. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it just holds together as a piece. Like it's of a piece, and it works perfectly.
It works, yeah. And there's that you know, for the record, when I first watched The Walking Dead and I saw Norman Reedus, I was like, oh, look, it's good. Or like,
I was so glad when he blew up in Blade 2. I was so glad.
That's
blow this dude up.
Yeah, okay. that's a funny little nugget that people will go back and watch that. They're like, Daryl, no, like what? Daryl,
no.
What are
he
you
redeemed
doing?
himself later on in The Walking Dead.
But yeah, but like you guys were saying, the seriousness of the first one, you know, makes it stand out a little bit more for its time.
Yeah.
I mean, you even have the little dialogue exchanges between characters, like in Boucher Wright's character and Blade, when she's just like, she's just like, what is going on? What is happening? And why, you know, Blade's trying to get information from the familiar, and she's like, what are you doing? Stop! And he, you know, he gets away, and he turns around and walks up to her, and he goes, "You need to wake up."
Yeah.
You know, that whole dialogue, like, you know, there would you say something like, "You live in this world, but there's another world beneath it."
Right.
You know, and sometimes you just gotta pull the trigger. And then I got an action boner after that.
Yeah, he's intense as hell. I also like that the scene where they go to the little vampire council and they kidnap the one main guy. It's so
Udo
like,
Kier.
god damn, I'm like, shit, this is fucking dark as hell. They like
pull his teeth
rip
out,
his fangs out, and just the like you said, just the dialogue of like, oh yeah, you've never seen a sunrise. You were born a vampire, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's all right.
It's so
And
cool how he
just, like,
turned that on him, like.
Yeah, it's so like that's so like vicious to like just sit a vampire there at sunrise. That's just so dark. I didn't know either when I was watching this. I was like, oh, David S. Goyer wrote this. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He looks out in some scripts.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
It
it's
does.
weird.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
He gets lucky sometimes in certain movies.
Well, didn't he write Training Day too? Didn't he write
so.
that?
Did he?
I think he.
Oh, wow.
I think he wrote Training Day.
I mean, you know,
he has a couple, man. He's got some.
You got to love the fun idea, the ridiculous but yet still fun idea of the vampire mascara or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
I like that. I thought that was inventive though. Like,
It's
Is
fun.
it that
I thought
easy?
I just thought that was so inventive though. Like, it probably wouldn't work, but it's just like, that could maybe. I'm going with it. Yeah,
I'll rock
let's
with
go.
it. I'll rock with it. And like the whole
And their helmets.
and
they put helmets on too.
Yeah, and to circle back just before we pivot on Karen, so her character was a cool way to just introduce this world, and that's actually become kind of a, you know, I don't know, let's say the trope probably already existed by this point, obviously, but like in superhero movies specifically, like I remember they kind of did the same thing in Hellboy, where you take a sort of supporting character and introduce the world through them. Because then it makes sense for these characters to be speaking in exposition, you know, because otherwise you got people explaining stuff to people who should already know it. And so like Karen coming in and asking these questions, and you get to hear Whistler explain things and Blade explain things, and there's your world. It's building your world, and then she's getting introduced to it through him. he's having to explain things like, yeah, like you got this long, that kind of stuff. They're about to come after you, like, and you just learn it through the script. But her character,
she's badass.
Yeah,
she is.
I just love her.
She holds her own.
Yeah,
I
love her.
She's
her character arc.
She's gorgeous. She's tough. She's smart, and she's dark skinned. And like you, honestly, like I remember being like, wow, she's really dark. Like, and being like that, making an impression on me when I saw it, because it was unusual. To have a leading woman, a leading Black woman be like dark skinned and be like, that was just like she was, and she and Blade sort of match each other in that way. And there's something really beautiful about it.
And she did she get progressively more attractive throughout the movie for y'all? Because I
think she does.
Man, like she's sexy as hell. Like she's just like the entire time, and she's capable. Like initially, they sort of trade off. Like she dislocates her arm, he fixes it. Later on, she fixes his arm. Like she's holding him down. Like when they go to the vampire,
the big gross fat one, Pearl,
the museum.
Pearl,
she's
so random and disgusting. It's like, what? Like, what happened? I want to know the story. How did Pearl become this way?
I like that though, because there was that one guy, the doctor that she dated, that got bit, and they're kind of just, it's such like throwaway lines. They're just talking about like how he you would have thought he would have turned, but he just turned into some monster. And it's like, I guess some of these, like when you get bit, so like I'm going with that. I'm like, maybe some of
it's
these
like an allergic
people,
reaction.
whatever. It's like, it's like a reaction. Like maybe you don't just turn into a cool ass vampire, with Abercrombie and Fitch model. Maybe you turn into some weird shit. Like, so it's like,
it's a roll of the dice.
I like that.
It's
I
a roll
like
of the
that.
dice.
Yeah.
All right. So
another thing I like that I champion is the hero getting beat up. Blade got it. He got it a little bit in here. He even got his butt kicked by the little girl. Beat his butt.
Oh yeah.
The little girl
kicked
kicked
him
his
like
ass
50
down
times in
there.
the
He's
face,
like, let me help you. She whooped his ass.
Yeah.
And then later he got, stabbed and shocked and
bled.
It's he wasn't just completely invincible. It was nice to see a hero get hit and struggle. So when they triumph at the end, you cheer for it. So that's always a plus.
Yeah.
There was that was another thing. One of my best friends, to circle back on Blade 2, that's what he loved about Blade 2 too, because he gets handled in Blade 2 several times.
Yeah, he gets messed
big
up.
time.
Yeah, he gets messed up.
He earns that. But all right, so why don't we pivot? So now we're at a point of the show where we check in on our people of color, called "You Good, Homie," and we see how our folks of color did in the movie. And in this case, we have a few. We've got Blade himself. We've got Karen. We've got Blade's mother, Vanessa, I think is her name. Yeah.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
And then like we always sometimes, I mean, more recently we've kind of been doing this, some more minor characters just of note. We have the little girl that
little black girl. With
there's a couple of little girls in this movie, both of which get treated very badly. You got the girl who's kicking Blade and then gets knocked out, and then we have the little girl who gets thrown into the street. That girl gets thrown through.
She would have been dead.
She gets thrown through like a hot dog stand into the street. Yeah. I'm just like, holy crap.
Yeah, she'd have been dead.
Well, how about when he throws
impact.
Karen off the roof? Like, he just throws her to the next building, and I'm like, she would have had some injuries.
She got tossed. It was so it was so casual.
Well, she did dislocate her shoulder, so she did get hurt, I guess.
A little bit.
That's the only injury you get in the Blade universe is a dislocated.
Right.
It's like very specific.
Like a constant nagging injury.
Another dislocation. But to talk about our sort of, I guess, our big three. Well, I guess should we go backwards and start with the Blade's mother, because things do not go well for her.
That's such a sad thing too. When he sees Karen, and which I always thought was funny, because what infant remembers what they their mom but a flashback of their mom. But I mean, Because you don't even open your eyes really instantly. Whatever. So like his mom though, like it's such a tragic thing. Like seeing like it's her baby. She's being born. She never actually really gets to hold her son, and he's torn away from his mom. And like to see her then later on, and to see what she's become is like, well, this is not even. And she even says it like your mom died a long time ago. And that's, I mean, and she's weird too. Like, she's like incestuous almost.
I've killed, and I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. She's very
a different person.
She's a different person, and it's like he never got to know his, and which is why you appreciate the relationship with Karen, because he's connecting to this black woman that he never got to know. He sort of like. He like his like sorrow or whatever is imprinted on her. Like, I can't let this black woman die. I couldn't save my mom, but I can save her right now. And like,
and he does make that choice. So like he could have left her there, and it's almost a mistake that it ends up obviously not being, but like it could have easily been this thing that he didn't need to do at all that ended up costing him. And he took her with, he saved her. Threw her to another building, but still saved her.
she good. She good.
She's fine. Yeah.
Strong black woman, just locate the shoulder.
Pop that back in.
Right,
I cared more about N'Bushe Wright's character in this movie, and to me, she had more of a badass, believable arc where I rooted and cheered for her over Captain Marvel. I said it.
Agreed.
I said it. Captain mistakes were made. Captain mistakes were made. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Captain Twat Waffle. Okay, I'm sorry.
Random Captain Marvel
I
sidebar.
I actively don't like that movie. So yeah, anybody, I don't like that movie at all. Yeah, she's her arc is way more believable. Like, you see her going from being helpless, really, she's just a victim at when we first meet her, and like she turns from being a victim to saying, well, she struggles with it a little bit, like vampires, and then she slowly starts to be like, all right, well, I did get bit, and this motherfucker in the hospital was burnt and turned and bit the other guy. So I mean, she starts to just accept it, like, I guess it is vampires. And then she sort of like slowly acclimates to the world, and he's coaching her on like, listen, this is what I like. When they're walking into that club and he's like, you know how to use one of these, and she's like, I forget her line, but it's something like I'll something I can't remember, but she's like, basically, I'll learn how to, I'll figure it out, basically. Like, and she adapts. She's a badass in this. Like,
she created a cure for herself,
Right?
And she created a cure for vampirism, which who did that?
And that was dope. How that played out. Where
Captain mistakes were made.
And she's in a, like that's not a character we haven't seen some version of before, right? Like this sort of woman sidekick who shows up, but she honestly, she could have been I'm trying to think of like an example of someone like that who annoys me in movies, because there's plenty of them, but she's not annoying. Like, I don't get annoyed with her. Like, she's believable. Like, she completely sells that arc. And
I like when she takes shots at Deacon when they're in there, and she's like, how'd you get that scar, Deacon? Like, and she's like taking she's not intimidated by him.
Strong at him, and he spent the whole movie. I love that scene because he spends the whole movie antagonizing everyone else. And that's the first time we see somebody really get under his skin in that way. And it's her who does it. It's such a dope scene because she just won't stop.
Well, you could see that he's self-conscious about, he sort of acts like it doesn't matter who's, a half breed or whatever, but he's self-conscious about it because that gets under his skin that he's not, he wasn't born a vampire. That irks him.
Pure blood.
Yeah.
So, I would say that's even his whole thing. Like, he's like overcompensating for that. Like,
he has a complex for sure.
Make up for it.
Yeah.
And just to circle back on the thing you said, Miles, about her learning about vampires and sort of adjusting. I love that scene because the scene, at first I'm just like, oh boy, are we really going to do this? Because she's just like, that's, he said something about vampires and she's like, that the vampires aren't real or whatever. And he's just like, you saw it. You know what I'm saying? And right after he says that, she's just like, yeah, okay. Cool. Okay. All right.
You already had a run-in with Mr. Crispy earlier.
Mr. Crispy.
You know, like, and she's just like, oh yeah, that's true. All right, cool. Let's go. I love that. Her character's dope. And then Blade himself, obviously, is our other homie, and he obviously comes out alive and more accepting. That's what I talked about his arc. He's so much more accepting of who he is by the end of this movie, and he's sitting there saying like, no, I don't need this cure. Like, I need to be out here doing what I'm doing. I just need to take care of myself, you know. And that's the dope thing is like he hates what he is. Like at the beginning, he's learned how to use it at his advantage to kill the people that he needs to get rid of. But he hates what he is. He doesn't like that he is half vampire. He just wants to be a regular person. It seems like he doesn't want to have these abilities, but if I have them, then I'm just gonna take out all of you people that are vampires. Like, but he doesn't want to be what he is, and I think that's some serious shit. Like that he is like struggling with what he is, and like you said at the end, his arc is that he ends up accepting like, you know what, forget the cure. Like, this is what I am. I just have to sort of embrace what it is. Even when he has to like feed on her basically at the end, it helps him. Like he actually needed to do that. Yeah. Like and it was like a part of him having to come to terms with like what you are. Like, maybe you feel like you're an animal, but I mean, okay, maybe you're an animal. So like you're a badass animal then. Like it's just like just accepting like what that is. I think that's so dope. Like, and you.
Well, I think like it's truly like, as much as like I think the way we think of vampires as being superhuman, like it's a weakness of theirs that they have to drink blood, right? Like that's not necessarily a strength, and I think. Yeah, like like
they explain that in here too, like why they have to drink blood. Some little science they threw in there.
Got those a little science in there,
based on a study.
Yeah. Vampire mascara.
But like accepting that, and she's willingly giving it, and she's participating and fulfilling a need of his, and his,
Oh, she's willingly giving it.
Taking that in for sustenance. She sustains him, and he lets her. He lets her sustain
I know.
him.
They had something going on. Like
allegory.
He took a couple extra drinks there. Yeah. Could have let go earlier.
That was
take a little bit more.
When I watched it, I was like, I feel like y'all weirdly are both enjoying this.
Wait a minute. So, that's a good place for us to to transition to our rule of the day. So the rule for the Blade, we decided was #Black Love. because we got our characters Karen and Blade, who sustain each other through this movie, and it's very clearly a bond that, as Miles has alluded to, goes deeper than goes deeper than maybe the a face value interpretation of it might tell you. And her letting him draw her blood, them popping each other's shoulders back in, them literally saving her
erotic.
Life, like just
right.
That erotic shoulder popping.
It's good stuff. You know what's funny? I thought when I saw the scene, I was just like, I immediately thought of Kong versus Godzilla, and how like weird it was that Kong got his shoulder dislocated and knew how to pop it back in. And I was like, whoa, Kong out here like living that John McClane.
That shit was badass though.
Yeah.
Like he like
it's like, all right, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't even know necessarily what to do in that situation, but Kong knew. So yeah, I mean, these two sustaining each other, it's how they survive. And conversely, we see that there was Blade's mom, who decided to love the super pale vampire man, and ended up dead.
I must
She got rid of her.
you.
She had a cute fro. She got rid of it.
Yeah.
Oh, she was fine as hell. She was fine as a motherfucker. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And as
She
That's
did.
annihilated, man.
And then it wasn't there anymore, and she had like long straight hair, and she'd hooked up with Backstreet Boy with
yeah.
in a weird white room with a bed in the middle of it, like where I don't know, like where
that's
where
a
that
weird
was.
room. Yeah, it's a weird room. Like, why is everything so white in here, man? Like, this is the dirtiest
Right.
place ever. Like, y'all got all types of stains everywhere on shit, man. Like, put some color in here, man. Like, yeah.
And just to give some clarity around our rule, as one half of an interracial marriage, this is not a we're against interracial dating episode, but in the Blade universe, maybe.
You might want to, get you a strong black doctor woman.
Hey, benefits.
There you go.
I forgot what I was about to say. Damn, never mind.
You were gonna say black love.
Right, yeah.
I'm gonna overlay for the record when we edit this. I'm gonna just overlay when every time the president says black love, the scene of the blood sucking scene.
Yes.
Just to kind of just to emphasize that point.
There's some sexual stuff going on, right? Even when like that part where they're going into like the museum area and they get on the elevator and Blade kind of does this like thing on that. I don't even know what that is. Like he just gets on the elevator. It's like, what is he doing?
Hey,
Well,
he was trying to get with that, man.
Did you guys watch True Blood at all?
my wife watched
The
it.
show on HBO.
didn't.
So I watched all of True Blood, like from the beginning to the end. So there were that was a thing, like the romances between vampires and non-vampires involved, like this.
Well, it's vampire
sexual blood sucking.
It's always sexual. Like there's like I think I sent
Sexual
y'all
blood-sucking.
that Key and Peele skit. The Key and Peele skit where they're like making fun of like how vampires is always like all sexual and shit. And the one dude is like, "What are y'all doing, man? Like, not doing all this licking and hissing." Like,
I forgot about that.
Oh,
and it's
funny.
like that's what vampire like. It's always like over sexualized, like vampire. Well, I don't know what that is. With vampires,
there's something.
It's the sucking.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
I mean, there's something. Yeah,
Poor werewolves.
right. They're just vicious.
They living in the damn sewers and shit. They all dirty. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, it's not sexy. It's like a dog. It's like, it's a giant dog. Like, I don't know if it's not sexy.
I don't know if I'm down with
Not
that.
sexy.
I don't want to bone it. It's in the.
It feels wrong.
Because a vampire still looks like a person. Like, but, it's got some different
where do-
teeth.
Vampires have always been like that.
How did we get here? How did we get here?
That's
Black
like when
love.
Dracula like comes into girls' windows and like has his way with them. Like that's always been coded into vampires until we got to there's some ugly ones like the Nosferatu dude that looked all like with the ears and shit. But no, like vampires. Yeah, the ones in True Blood are like sexy as hell and
Sexy as hell.
yeah.
Sexy
Somebody's gonna
vampire.
listen to this episode and be like, when that Mexican lady was like talking about the werewolves, and she was like, I don't want to bone it. I felt that.
They need to show some love
It's
to
a
the
dog.
other monsters. make the other monster sexy, man. Make the mummy sexy or something.
I mean,
The mummy.
yeah,
The mummy was kind of sexy in the movie, when he wasn't a mummy. But when he
when he was a human, right? Yeah.
this is good looking.
Just before he became a mummy, right? Yeah, he was.
I mean, was he though? He's kind of that meme of him doesn't do him any favors. The kind of creepy meme they always use of him. Have you seen it? Yeah.
Oh yeah. The girlfriend though, or the one he was cheating with was super sexy.
Oh, she's
though,
gorgeous,
like,
isn't?
yeah,
No, she's
before she became a mummy.
Yeah.
So anyway, about
for
Blade.
Yeah, right. Anyway, Blade is great.
Which classic monster do you want to bone? Is the question
Yes.
of the hour.
Leave something in the
You
comments.
can't say Blade.
Can't can't be a vampire. It has to not be a vampire. You have to pick one that's not a vampire. Which one is it? Is it the mummy?
I don't know how we went this whole podcast without from the blue. First of all, you're called the creature. You're not sexy. Like, it's over.
The Shape of
Some
Water.
people might be into it.
Shape of Water, y'all.
I can't believe we went this whole podcast though without saying some motherfuckers is always trying to ice skate uphill.
I was waiting on it. I was waiting when we could talk about the finale, but yeah, we can wrap it up.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go there. But before we get to the finale, I gotta just give a shout out to my guy at the beginning of the movie who goes to that dude was I had so much secondhand embarrassment for him in that scene. I'm just like, this dude is so pathetic. Like, he gets to the party and he's just trying to like fit in. Like, I felt so bad for him before the blood sprinklers came on. I was like, oh my God, go home. Go home. Oh no.
Nobody was fucking with him at all. Like,
so sad. Like, you would think like they would pretend to be into him because of, the situation that he was in, but they weren't even just like, get out of here. Like, we don't.
Like, dude, watch out. We're about to eat you, man. Watch out. Go sit down over there.
He survives. I love that he survives, too.
Yeah, I always forget that he survies. In my head, that guy dies. And then I watch the game like, oh, he made it out. Blade saved him.
You know what I thought about, too? He had to have gone to jail because when the cops show up, there's blood everywhere. There's a motherfucker on fire that's stapled into the wall, and this guy's just sitting there like...
all covered with blood.
Guilty, like
makes his story even more sad.
I was watching to see if they were handcuffing him because I was like, that motherfucker's going to jail right there.
I had that exact thought this last time I watched it. I'm like, he's fucked.
Yeah.
Like, how's he gonna explain this?
How do you explain this? All the vampires like burn up in the ashes. It's like it was a oh man. It was a vampire.
What made me laugh was when the cops showed up and they see the guy still staked to the wall on fire, and they're not even fazed by it. The cops are like, put him out. Put him
out. Like, damn, you saw this earlier today already.
Another one. So I'm skating uphill. So the ending to this movie. So from what I've understood, I haven't researched it, but I think I remember looking this up before. Wasn't there a different ending supposed to be for this movie?
Yeah, it was. There was a different finale, and luckily it didn't work out because the CGI was but they resurrect the actual blood god, and it's this huge tornado. And you can watch the special features of it, and it looks atrocious. It looks so bad. And you see like this big, red tornado of garbage, and you see Deacon Frost's head like poke out of the tornado and go, "Hey, Blade, yeah, you just wait till I get my hands up." It's so bad. It's so bad. And I know we wanted a longer fight between Frost and Blade. I know we wanted one. Their fight was kind of short, right?
Right.
But I'd rather, because they had to wrap it up. Yeah. But I'd rather have that short fight, especially when him cutting Frost in half and Frost reforms, and you get that awesome close zoom in on Blade.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what? I love that.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
I love that.
But it's better than the Blood Tornado God. But yeah, the ending also. When he meets with Mbushi right on the rooftop, and then she's like, come with me or whatever, and he's all like, no, there's more vampires out there. I got to kill. My work's not done, right? And then they end up in Moscow. He ends up in Moscow for that last shot, right? Yeah. That same scene, the other ending was he turns and looks, and you see another being across from him in another building, standing there like this. Oh. And that's where he sees, like, oh, there's more. My work's not done. And that's when he says that line. What they were trying to do was set up Morbius. Oh, that was supposed to be Morbius, the new vampire Jared Leto movie that's coming out soon. Right. That was supposed to be Morbius that they were setting up for the sequel.
Oh, man.
Which kind of would have been dope to see Blade.
Yeah, that would have been
Morbius. But no, I like the Moscow ending. Was good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, Morbius is like, for those who don't know, like, he's kind of one of Blade's and on the old Spider-Man anime series, that was kind of how they introduced Blade.
That's what I remember.
Morbius fought Spider-Man, and Blade was sort of cross paths with Spider-Man because he was hunting Morbius, and so Morbius is kind of that through line that brings Blade into Spider-Man's world. And who knows what they're going to do with Jared Leto's version of the character. I doubt we'll see Blade in it.
Eye roll, not interested. I mean, listen, I have nothing against Jared Leto. I'm just like,
I feel like you have some stuff against Jared Leto.
I have some stuff against Jared Leto.
Just like he's an excellent actor, actually. Like, I like him in a lot of stuff. I love him in Dallas Buyers Club. He's excellent in that. I mean, even in Fight Club, even though he's pretty much getting, beat the hell up, but yeah.
Good job.
Do you guys think?
I don't know. Like,
do you think they're trying to set up a crossover? Because it's.
I mean,
I don't know.
Possibly.
Let's introduce Morbius, and then now we'll introduce Blade.
I mean, if Morbius is handled well, and then you got Mahershala Ali across from Jared Leto, that could work.
Sell tickets.
Yeah, but I don't know though, because I mean, Morbius is being made through Sony and stuff, and all the weird studio stuff.
Yeah, they got to do some contract stuff.
But who knows? I mean, they're still, it's weird. It's weird that Morbius is even considered a Spider-Man character, because you could just as easily argue that he's not. But I don't know. I don't understand all that.
It looks like they're still taking the gray route with him.
Right.
I don't think he's going to be true villain.
Yeah, he's going to be an anti-hero.
Yeah, because he's getting his own movie, so he must not be that much of a villain. If he's the movie is about him, it's like, all right, well,
unless they make it a horror movie.
So how do you put him up
what if they made a
dope
horror movie and he was like the?
They won't.
No, it's PG-13.
They're not. They're not.
Well, thoughts really quick on the new Blade. What do you think? Do we have a shot with Ali?
I mean, with Ali, I think he'll do good. I don't know if
he's a really good actor.
I'm trying to picture him doing it's just, man, Snipes is so the shots in this movie.
Yeah.
There's so many long shots where they don't cut around a whole bunch. You see him doing stuff, and then they cut to another angle of him doing stuff. That's not what you see in a lot of action movies now. Even in some of the Marvel movies, it's just punch, cut, punch, cut, punch, cut, cut, to make it more frenetic, I guess. But I don't want that. And I hope, I don't know who the filmmaker is going to be, but that might be a bigger.
Who else is involved in, or who else is attached to it? What's the what else?
I haven't heard.
It's just Mahershala Ali right now.
I can see him.
Yeah, I don't know who's directing. That's the big thing for me is who's directing it. That will make me maybe feel differently, because the thing about Wesley is he knows martial arts, so
he's legit.
He can do this stuff for real. So it's even more, and I mean, it's not like they can't train, and a lot of them train and do a lot of this stuff. And I think, like I said, Mahershala is an incredible
Get that
actor.
Stunt double. Get that stunt double ready.
Yeah.
If you need
I could see him doing a version that's more because I feel like the Wesley Snipes version is this really literal, as we said, a serious literal take on this character. I could see something. I could see a talented actor pulling something else out of it. At some dimension that isn't there in this take. That's just as satisfying, but just different. I don't know though. I don't. You guys know more about the comic book stuff than I do.
I don't mind different if it's good. As long as it's good, I don't mind different. That's fine.
I'm just gonna be optimistic because I like the actor and I like the intellectual property, and so really. Just why not? Yeah.
And I think generally Marvel, Disney, typically they do well. There's stuff that I don't necessarily, it doesn't connect with me, but for the most part they do pretty good. I wouldn't bet against them making a good Blade movie. I think they could do it for sure. I mean, I think they understand the characters, so that alone.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. It's a different tone though. I feel like the tone, of the character is different than what they've had success with. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, they can't do what they've done with some of the other where it's just because Blade, the first Blade has humor and it has jokes in it. But it doesn't have jokes we wrote these to be funny right now to make you laugh. It was jokes based upon how that character would respond to stuff. because that character, like even when Deacon does he does the blade and throws him, like I wasn't like laughing like they threw that, like wrote this funny joke in there. I feel like he would do that because he's an asshole, and he's like that humor makes sense for what he is. Whereas like you watch a typical Marvel movie and everybody's got a zinger every, and everybody's got a, one line or every other line. And I don't think they can do that. I don't think that works.
Yeah. I think there's
I think it would have been perfect if they kept their Marvel Knights universe on Netflix, which unfortunately they got rid of. Blade TV series, adult violent on Netflix.
Yes,
perfect.
In the same universe.
Punisher's that way. The Punisher's violent. Daredevil's violent. Everything's adult.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Luke Cage.
Yeah.
It's perfect, and it's kind of sucks they canceled all of those projects. It's like, what are you guys doing?
What? Well, what they have now, I mean, I guess they could. I mean, I guess the Falcon and Winter Soldier is
that's not on par with Daredevil.
I mean, it's more dark. It's not even close. It's not even close, but it's way, you could see them sort of testing the waters as to okay, how can we get dark?
Wasn't it?
Because they don't really get that dark. It was amazing. Yeah. And it's like, you could see them testing the waters like, okay, we know that people want these other properties. Like they've got Deadpool now and everybody's like, okay, so what are y'all gonna do with this? Because up until this point we've gotten this, and we don't want to see it turn into whatever it is you guys do with the other things, which is fun, but it's not this. This is something entirely different. So I think they know they can push it further than I think we suspect they can. They just haven't.
They'll find some clever ways to mask the fact that they can't show a lot of blood. I'm sure. I mean. But only time will tell.
But it's a vampire movie. That's the hard part. Is you got to show blood. It's a vampire movie.
I mean, but that's why I think so many folks are skeptical of whether it'll work. It's like, you're gonna do a Blade movie PG-13, like a vampire movie, like no blood. Well, okay,
might as well throw in sticky fingers.
Right.
Hey, can we get Wesley in there as like something like? Maybe could he play like a Deacon Frost or like, you know what I mean, like
have a cameo?
I want to see him as the big old gross vampire.
Is this Wesley Snipes?
That's what.
Just screaming.
Like just a big flat black dude.
So really quick before I forget, another fun fact before I forget. So Wesley Snipes apparently has given Ali his blessing. Okay? He's given him his blessing. However, he did announce himself that he's working on a project that's his own supernatural martial arts action film that he's working on right now. And he's saying the fight scenes that you've seen in Blade are nothing compared to what I have planned in this new movie that he's working on right now. And here's the funny thing. He gave Ali his blessing, but you know how some movies, they choose different names until the real title's released? So he's calling this movie that he's working on Blade Killer. The Blade Killer. That's what he's calling it, which is hilarious.
Shank.
Which is pretty funny.
Oh, my God.
So hopefully it's good. Yeah. Hopefully it's a good movie. I'll watch it, sure. I don't care if it's low budget.
Slightly, a little bit of shade.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, cool.
You got my blessing, but fuck you.
Well, this
right. Yeah.
But also, yeah. No, this was fun, y'all. Like talking about Blade. We got to have you back on, and we can maybe have a deeper conversation about Blade 2, or just something else altogether.
Sure.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Or we can talk about your Xenos and your Predators in the background. I want to see those things back there.
You got
I'm dying to see that collection.
I was gonna say,
if
we want to do a Sanaa Lathan kind of series, we can do AVP next and just like keep the thing going.
Sure, why not?
But
they're atrocious, but why not? It'll be fun to talk about them. Sure.
Hey, we talked about Ghost of Mars.
We haven't talked about any Predator movies.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about any Predator movies. I would love to do that.
There it is.
I would love it.
So Preston, do you want to just real quickly just give one more plug to what you got going on your channel?
All right. So if you're watching right now, don't worry about Samurai Guy. Subscribe to these badasses right now. That's what you need to do. I'm not plugging myself. I'm plugging these motherfuckers right here. You know what I'm saying? Because these motherfuckers don't ice skate uphill. They're badasses. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. They know the genre. They're representing horror. They're not ashamed of it. You know what I'm saying? So subscribe to these guys. But if you want to follow me, I'm everywhere, man. That Phat Samurai Guy. I'm all on the social medias, all on the Twitters, all on the Instagrammies. You can find me anywhere. That's right. Come over to my channel. Horror movies, martial arts, action films. We have fun. Nerding out. Having fun being a nerd. That's right. So come over and check out. Oh, don't forget, watch Blade. If you have never seen Blade, the badassity abounds. We didn't even get into the details yet of the fight scenes and all that because we're talking about the story and all this other good stuff. Sword fighting, shooting, kicking, stabbing, blowing up, okay? Anything you want, plus a good story and characters you can root for. So if you haven't seen Blade, younglings going out here watching Frozen and shit, check out Blade.
Hey, there it is. That is the quote of the episode. Check out Blade. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think of Blade, what you thought of our conversation. If you're checking us out on Apple, leave a review. Let us know what you think of the show. Anywhere else, drop us a follow, share this show, try to help us grow this community. We're super excited what's to come. If you want to follow us on Instagram, we're at 2BXM Podcast on Instagram. Same thing on TikTok. Make sure to subscribe. We'll see you next time. Stay safe.